Well, today we celebrate Call to Earth Day. This year's theme is Our Shared Home, a chance to look at how interconnected our world really is. And we have been following the amazing achievements of conservationists like Kerstin Forsberg, who inspired her country to change its laws on conserving giant manta rays. You've seen them, they're found off the coast of Peru. She says protecting these gentle giants is a step towards ensuring the health of our oceans and of the impoverished communities of Peru too. Kerstin is an environmentalist working as part of Rolex's Perpetual Planet Initiative, and she joins me now from Callao in Peru. Kerstin, great to see you. Just talk to us first and to our viewers about your work with these giant and beautiful manta rays, because they weren't legally protected in Peru, and they weren't even given a conservation priority for the government, or at least weren't seen as a priority. So how did you change that?
Exactly. Thank you so much, and thank you for being here with us today as we celebrate Call to Earth. Our manta rays are one of the flagship species that we work with. They're endangered, and as you were mentioning, they weren't protected in Peru. So what we work really is in empowering coastal communities, working together with coastal communities as partners. And this started in collaborating with fishers and asking them how they were seeing the mantas, what was the issues that the mantas were facing, and based on that also talking with the government officers and understanding what the threats were and why these species weren't protected. So I think that a big part of our work is always focused on listening, on really understanding the threats together with the local people and then building solutions together with local people as well.
I wonder, Kerstin, what your message is to those young people behind you there that we can see in your shot. I mean, it must have been incredibly hard to convince, I assume, the government to change the laws. How long did it take? How persistent were you? What is your message to the next generation?
I mean, definitely it took us 3 years since we got the proposal in for legal protection for giant mantas. But then that kind of led into trickling down to other effects. So we also worked with the government later to protect critically endangered large-toothed sawfish, for example. And I think that the main thing here is understanding that we can all take part in the solution. We all have a voice, just like the youth that you see here behind. And today we're here at El Callao, which is actually a location that is far away from our manta ray project site, where our manta rays are based in northern Peru. And right now we're working in another coastal community that we also work in central Peru, close to Lima. And our message to the youth is you can be an agent of change. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a politician or a biologist. You don't have to have a specific age or a specific degree. You can start. And what we're doing today is really thinking about leadership, environmental leadership, and how leadership is all about collaborating and listening to one another.
And that message, I'm sure, is getting through. Just talk to us as well about, and I think this is something that you're going to hear, you've heard a lot, Kerstin, from young people, because here on the show, as you know through the news, we've been giving viewers a sense, a reality check really, of the state of our ocean, the warming waters, the coral reefs, the plastic, the pollution. Give us a sense of what you've seen, because you have worked in marine conservation pretty much your whole life. Give us this reality check, because this is really important.
Yes, thank you. I mean, I started my own work when I was young as well. I was 22 years old, and I just started visiting coastal communities and understanding that sea turtles, which is the first species that I worked with, were under a huge threat from bycatch. And not just sea turtles, but many different species. And overall, our oceans face continuous threats through pollution, through over-exploitation, through climate change. It's a very life-threatening thing for all of us, because we all depend on the ocean. The ocean is our planet's main life support system. So I think that it's really important for us to understand that, for everybody else to understand that, and for us to see ourselves as leaders in how we can generate multiplier effects within our communities, within our neighborhoods, within our schools, within our companies, within our organizations. We can all be agents of change.
And we've heard very dire predictions about the state of the world climate, our oceans. Are you optimistic at all, Kerstin, or are you somewhat pessimistic about the progress or lack of progress we've made?
I mean, I think that I'm very worried. That was one thing. But I also see, since I started in 2007, that people are more aware. And I see that in schools, I see that in the fishing communities. I feel that there's so much more that we still need to do. The threats that we're facing in the ocean are continuous. They're going on right now, this precise second. But I feel that there's this sense of optimism in the air, specifically with the young generation. And I think that one of the things that most concerns me, I guess, is that there are people that want to do change, but there's very little support. So there's very little support for schools such as this, such as low-income coastal community schools. I think that it's something that we need to do to try to raise visibility and raise support for these local generations and young generations that want to create change, but that are still facing several threats to get there.
Kerstin Forsberg, really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. Thank you very much, Kerstin.